Okay, good morning, good Sunday morning to all. We are just began Masechta above Metzia. We're up to Daf Daled. Today's Daf Daled. Let's segue into the Daf with what we saw previously yesterday. We're in the middle of Sugya of Rabbi. Rabbi said the following Chiddush. Now we know there's a din of Moedim and Mixas Sataina. A person claims 100 from you, you admit 50, so you pay 50 and you swear under the 50 that you don't know. You're swearing. This is important. You're swearing what you don't know. What you don't owe. You're swearing that I don't owe that to you. Again, remember, guys, always shvua is always that I don't. It's not a shvua to take. That's the way to remember it. Always shvua that I don't owe. So I don't owe you anything. What happens? A person claims 100 from you. You say I don't owe you anything. Comes along Adim, and Adim say you owe 50. So you're going to pay 50 because of the Haggadah Eidus. Because of the Haggadah Eidus, you're going to pay 50. That you're going to pay 50. Do you swear on the other 50? Says Reb Chia, you do swear on the 50. You do swear on the other 50 that your own piv should not be stronger than Eidus mikal v'chaymer. In other words, that a kal v'chaymer tells me that Eidus is stronger. So if my piv is mechayev mi yeshua, certainly Eidin can be mechayev mi yeshua. That's Reb Chia's din. Now let's just fit in the pitchivka. First of all, why would you think that piv is stronger? I mean, if I ask the man in the street, what's stronger, a person's own admission or two Eidim, I would say two Eidim. After all, two Eidim can kill you. They're very, very powerful. Al pishnayim Eidim yakum davar. It's al pishnayim Eidim yuas hameis. They're very powerful Eidim. So I would say in Svara that Eidus is more powerful than your mouth. Says the Gemara, by Moda Mixus, I would not necessarily say that, because there's a Svara behind Moda Mixus. Why does the Torah go ahead and put a shvur upon you? Like Rabbi, what did Rabbi say? If a person lends you money, no person has the chutzpah to deny the whole halva. They won't deny the whole halva if a person lends you money. They won't deny it. They'll say, but so why would a person then deny part of it? Because really he wants to buy time. He wants to buy time. He doesn't have the money to pay. So what will he do? I don't have the chutzpah to say nothing. So what do? I'll say, oh, you're part of it. And then what? I'll buy time to pay off the other part. So what does the Torah do? It throws a shvu on you to go ahead and subvert that. It throws a shvu on you to subvert that. Now, that would only apply by the individual. By Adam coming and saying, you denied the whole thing. Adam come along and say, you're 50. So the svara of my mitzvahs doesn't apply. Comes along, therefore, we have a kal v'chaymer to tell me the svara of my mitzvahs does apply. Okay? What's the kal v'chaymer? We wanted to say that just like your piv can't be mechayiv you kanas, Aiden could be mechayiv you kanas. So therefore, and piv can mechayiv shua, certainly Aiden can go mechayiv shua. And we slugged it up. We said that your mouth is not big hakchoshev hazama, right? It's not shayich hazama by you. It's not shayich hakchoshev by you. But by Aiden, it is shayich hakchoshev hazama to go ahead and subvert their Aiden, saying that it didn't happen, or to go ahead and see you imano yisem you with us and we mazing them. So that's where we left off. We don't have a kal v'chaymer because we had a pircha, a question on our kal v'chaymer. Eid is not. You see, the mouth is stronger than Eidim. Why? Because the mouth is not in the ballpark of a chashav azama, and Eidim are, and that's where we left off. So we're still struggling to find where the Reb Chia say there's a kal v'chaymer that would tell me Eidim should be mechayiv you on Eidim and mixas. That's the hakdama to where we're holding. So we're on Gimel Amid Beis. We're on Gimel Amid Beis. 1, 2, 3, about 5 lines up. Ella, here's your kal v'chaymer. Ashya me eid echad. We try to learn it out from the person's piv. We're going to learn it out from an eid echad. Now, what do we know about an eid echad? If an eid echad comes along and says, "Where's my $100?" You say, "I owe you nothing." An eid echad shows up and say, "You owe him 50." He can't be mechayiv you the 50. He can be mechayiv you shua that you don't owe. He can mechayiv you shua. So an eid echad has the koyach to mechayiv you shua. Ela asmi eid echad. Uma eid echad she'ei mechayiv mammon. An eid echad which can't be mechayiv you to pay money. Mechayiv shvua could be mechayiv you a shvua. Eidim she'mechayiv no say mammon. Eidim which could be mechayiv you money. Two eidim come, they could be mechayiv you money. Ein eidim she'mechayiv shvua is not a din that they should be mechayiv shvua. It seems like a great kal v'chaymer, right? We tried from piv, a person's own mouth, we failed. Now we have from an eid echad apparently a very clear kal v'chaymer. Madach an eid echad who can't be mechayiv money. could be mechayiv shvua. Eidis that could be mechayiv mammon, ain't no din mechayiv shvua. Okay, that seems to be a very nice kal v'chomer. Dov, what's your problem?
Because what you can say is, in lieu of the Eid Echad being able to be mechayiv in mammon, he can only be mechayiv in shvua. But the Eidim are stronger that they be mechayiv in mammon as well. In other words, it's a sign of weakness that it can only be mechayiv in shvua. But once you mechayiv in mammon, then you can.
I would say not. I would say not. I would say that it's a din like that. I don't say it's a weakness. That we have a xeris akosev that in order to mechayiv money you need two people. Xeris akosev pishnai made them yakum davi. You need two people, right? You need two people. So an aid is only one person. So I would say aid is nothing. There's no aid whatsoever. Kamashma, an aid is strong enough. Mechayiv shua. It's not like nothing. So that's the way I would view it. Now just look at the shvua, fellas. Let's look at the shvua. What the aid is mechayiv me. This is a little tricky. What's the eid echad swearing? The person swearing keneged the eid echad, right? The eid echad said you owe money. He's swearing that what? He's swearing on exactly what the eid said. Good. What's our case by moed b'miktsas, fellas? He said, I owe nothing. The aid said you owe 50. What am I swearing? Not on what the aid said. I'm not swearing on the 50. I'm swearing on the other 50 that I don't owe. So the shvua is not similar. By aid echad, I'm swearing keneged what the aid testified. Over here, I'm not swearing on that 50. That 50 I'm paying. I'm swearing what the aid did not testify on. So it's not dome. Says the Gemara. Mala eid echad shekain al mashu meyed hu nishba. Eid echad, he's swearing keneged what the person said. You said you owe nothing. I say you owe 50, right? He says I don't owe 50. He's directly going ahead and challenging the person's eidus. Amid Aleph, timer be'edim. What are you going to say by edim? She'al masha kafahu nishba. He's not swearing on what the aid said. That 50 he's paying. He's swearing on what he was kaifer on the other half. So therefore, it's svara. Why should we be machmir so much to make him swear? Why should there's a svara guys with kal v'chomer. Dayo lova min adin liyos kinidan. Remember guys in Baba Kama, the din of Dayo. Reb Tarfin wanted to be mechayev a person shame v'regel wanted to be mechayev keren nesek shalem because of shame v'regel. We said Dayo, it's enough where it's coming from. So where are you learning this from? You're learning from Eidus? So in Eidus, when what you swear on, right? But when you don't swear on, how do you know to be machmer? If your source, this is the way the Ritva explains Rashi. If your source for the Eidus is from Eid Echad, Madach and Eid Echad Chaim Yeshua by keeping Chaim money, an Eid which Chaim money ain't a ditch Chaim me what is Shvua. How do you know to be machmer? It's not the same Shvua. It's not the same Shvua. How do you know to be machmer even on what he's not testifying that you have to swear? That's the shot. So you have a great kasha, guys. So right now you don't have a kal v'chomer. Right now you don't have a kal v'chomer. So now Ella, Amar of Papa, we're going to try from Gilgul Shvua. Okay, guys, Gilgul Shvua. Gilgul Shvua is literally rolling on a Shvua. We learn from a Saita, guys. By the Isha Saita, we say, you weren't with this individual. She says, Amen, twice. One, that I wasn't with this individual, that there was keen of a steer that she was warned about, and one, I wasn't by an other individual where you didn't have keen of a steer. So there's Gilgul Shua's deraisa. So let's say a person comes along and he makes a claim that a claim of Moed B'Miktsas and another claim that he's kaifer b'kol. If a person denies the whole thing, he's not chayiv b'shvua. Once I'm being mechayiv me a shvua for what? For one thing, I'll be mechayiv me a shvua on the other thing. I'll roll it on with Gilgul Shvua. So thereby Gilgul Shvua, you're not swearing on what. Yeah, if I'm swearing on Moed B'Miktsas, I'm also swearing on what? Something that wasn't testified about, the kaifer b'kol. Again, guy says, you owe me $50, $100, I owe you 50. Another guy says, you know what? You owe me 100, he says, I owe you nothing. So since he's making a shvur on that 50, we'll roll this in as well. So you see that this is similar to Moed B'Miktsas, where with the shvur that you have is not what's going on over here. Right? Says the Gemara, Papa, asim Gilgul Shvua, the Eid Echad. Now you'll ask on that. It's one shua causing another shua. What are you going to say? You're going to say that just like by Eid Echad, a shua causes to swear on something else, so too by the chiyuv of Eidim by Mammon causes him to swear on something else. Since he's paying the 50, Rabbi's case, he's paying the 50, it will cause him to swear on the kofer b'kol. It's a big difference. Over there, it's a shvua causing it. Over here, it's money causing it. So it's not a good sushtel. The Mela, we failed, guys. We failed. We had two sources for the Kal V'Chomer. One was Piv, and one was Eid Echad. Piv failed because Piv is not in the parsha of Haklasha V'Azama. Eidis failed because you're not swearing on the thing that you testified on. So therefore, we failed with those two to have a Kal V'Chomer. Why you would think that Eidis, again, by Chiya's din, that Eidim could be Mechayev me, a Shvua Moder and Mitzvahs. Okay? Again, let's fit it in. It's all one sugya. Reb Chia has a din. What's Reb Chia's din? Just like you yourself can be Mechayev Moder Mitzvahs, a Shvua, Eidim can be Mechayev you. But you need a Kal V'Chomer, because there's a svara you shouldn't be, because the whole svara of Moed Mitzvahs is that you're trying to escape, and that doesn't exist. When Eidim come along, you have to give him kofer b'kol. So now I need a Kal V'Chomer. We tried to have a Kal V'Chomer from Piv. We failed. We tried, right, because it's not in the power of Achoshev Azama. We tried from Eid Echad. It failed because what you're testifying on is not the same thing that you're testifying on. So now what the Gemara is going to do, what it always does, you can learn out one from one. You'll learn out one from two, and we will learn Eidis from Piv and Eid Echad. Good. Says the Gemara, Piv Yochiach. Piv will go into here and tell you what you testified on is not necessarily what you Piv Yochiach. Piv will tell you what. Since by Piv he testified, he said one thing, and he's swearing connected that. So we'll see that you don't. Piv by Moedim Mixas, right? What's Moedim Mixas? I'm Moedim 50, and the shvu is on something else. So to Eidis, it's on 50, and I can swear on something else. How can you learn Eidis out of Piv? Piv is so powerful, you can't be machesh him. So Eid Echad Yochiach, because in Eid Echad you could be machesh, and therefore I'll ask. Sheyesh nebachasha. Ayol umchay v'shua. Ayol es mala eid echad shekain al masha meir hu nishpa. You're swearing keneged eid echad. Toima be'edim shal masha kafa hu nishpa. Piv yachiach. Because also by piv you're swearing on the kofer b'kol, not the 50 part. So therefore v'chazer adin, and therefore we'll go back and look at the common denominator between piv and eid echad. That the characteristics of one are not like the characteristics of the other. That's how the shava. What's the tzadashava of Piv and Eid Echad? Shall yidei taina ukfira, through a claim against them, and a kfira, and a person and a denying, a claim against, and then a person denying hein boyin v'nishpa. They come along and they swear. Afani avi, so too also I as well. Avi Edim, I'll bring Edim, shall they tainuk fira him boyin, binishba. Okay, so now there's your Kal V'Chomer, guys. There's your Kal V'Chomer. Any question that you would have is answered up. What was the question of Piv Yochiach? Piv is not Bachasha. So Eid Echad Yochiach, because Eid Echad is Bachasha. Maila Eid Echad, what he's testifying on is not what he's swearing on. No, if Eid Echad, what you testify on, you are swearing on. Mashenki Moedim Mixas. So Piv Yochiach, because by Moedim Mixas the same thing. That's how the Shavah Shebehen, that both of them come through a claim made against them in a denial. So who adin of Eidim would go ahead and make a claim against and deny, you would pay Moedim Mixas. So that's the Kal V'Chomer of Rabbi Chia. Now, does this mean every single case of a time of a kfira you're going to have to swear? Is that every single case? Every single case? If you look at Taisus, that's how the second Taisus on the page. That's how the Shavah Shebehen, Shayidei Taina, then Toimar. Koifer HaKol Yochiach, Shayidei Taina Kfira Pata. If you're Koifer B'Kol, a guy makes a claim against you, $100, you owe nothing. Do you swear? No. So therefore, your kal v'chomer, again, based upon your kal v'chomer, anytime you have a tainu kafir, you should have to swear. You see, not like that. Koifa b'kol doesn't. So Taisus tells you an important point. V'yesh leimar. The batzara shava shebehen yesh taina chashuva. But the tzara shava, you have a powerful taina. The kishemoid the miktsas oy eidechad machishoy nira de mishaker ulakach yeshvua. Guys, what's the case of piv? You made the miktsas. So a guy claims 100. You're made the 50. The fact that you made your 50 lends credence to his claim, right? You're not denying the whole thing. The guy's not coming out of the blue. You're denying the amount, but it certainly lends credibility that the guy's telling the truth. A guy comes along and says, you owe me $100. You say nothing. Comes along an Eidechad and says, what? You owe him 50. Again, there is a raglayim ledava, there's circumstantial evidence that what? That you're not telling the truth. We'll throw a shvu on you. Masha'en ken kaifa b'kol, where he says something, you say something, and there's no mitigating circumstance. Guess what? So this taina of this tzara shava of tainun kfira, we have to link to a little nakuda over here. It's got to be with a taina chashuva. It's got to be with a little evidence that what that a person is mad is lying. Okay, geshmak is anything. Okay, so right now we're holding serve, guys. Right now the Gemara is good. Right now the Gemara is good. Everything, we fit in everything that we're supposed to fit in. Rabbi said his din. He had a kal v'chomer. We have a kal v'chomer, and the kal v'chomer is between piv and eidechad. Okay, now the Gemara will ask on the kal v'chomer. Malit tzara shava shebehen shekain lo yichuchse kafrin. The tzara shava, he was not established as a liar. This is what Dov said yesterday, fellas. If a person comes along and claims 100, and you admit to 50. Right, and you admit to 50, right? You admit to 50. Comes along an eidach, you comes along a person you owe me enough. Comes along another person and says you owe 50. You haven't been the one person, one aid can't make you into a liar. So in the case of piv and eid echad in our tzara shava, it hasn't gone ahead and challenged the person as a person that's trustworthy. What about if two aidim come along after he said what? I owe nothing, and two aidim come along and say 50. The chayra, it's establishing this person as a liar. So how can you let him swear? How can we let him swear? You claimed 100. He says I owe nothing. Comes along two aidim and say you owe 50. That's announcement that guess what? You're a liar. By your own admission, by an eidechad, it doesn't go ahead and make you into a liar, a gazlan. But two aidim do. Fred the Gemara, malat tzara shava him between eid echad and piv. Shekain lehuchse kafrin. You haven't been established as a kafrin. Toima be'edim shekain huchse kafrin. Fred the Gemara. Ube'edim huchse kafrin. It really just because two people said you owe 50 and you said you owe nothing, do you become a liar? V'amrav idi bar avin amrav chista hakoifa b'milva kasha le'edis. Koifa b'milva kasha le'edis. Dov, what did I tell you yesterday? This guy is just buying time. The fact that he goes ahead and says, I owe you nothing, and he says you owe 50, doesn't mean that what? That I'm mamish a gazlan. By milva, there's a svara to say, right now I don't have the gelt. Right now I don't have the gelt, but I want to give it to you, yes? Bepikadin, however, if the guy says, where's my pikadin? And he says, I don't have it. And then someone swears you have it, then your muksik is a kafrin, because there's no svara to say, why did you say that in the first place? Where does a svara to say why you denied it in the first place? You're not muksik kafrin. So therefore, we see over here that your kasha on a kal v'chomer is not a kasha. What's your kasha? By piv and eid echad, he's not muksik kafrin. By edim, his huksik is a kafrin. By edim, he's also not huksik kafrin. By edim also, he's not huksik kafrin. Why? Because there's a reason why he's denying it. He wants to buy time. He's going ahead and slipping away to pay. You want a kasha in the kal v'chomer? I'll give you a kasha. Malat tzara shava shebehen shekain eina b'toras hazama. Both piv and eid echad, you can't be mazing them. But I come along and say I owe you 100. How could you have testified against yourself? You were with us in this place in that day. Doesn't work. Eid echad, you can't be mekayim hazama. In other words, you can't be mekayim kasha zama. Mashen came by Eidim that you could. So because of that question, let's destroy a Kal V'chomer. On that, the Gemara is saying, Torah be'Eidim sheyesh b'Torah sezama. Halikasha, Reb Chia Torah sezama le'parach. Reb Chia doesn't even regard this as a question. Fellas, I may not be able to be Mekayim Kasha Zomam, but if two people come along and say on an aid, this aid says you owe him $50. How do I know? Because the loan took place on such and such a day in such and such a place. Comes along two aidim and say, how could you have possibly testified? You were with us at that time in that place. So Hazama means we won't make the aid pay the $50, but we would be mevatel as aidis. This aid is no good. In other words, the punishment of Kasha Zamam we won't give him, but the Tailada of Kasha Zamam, postling his aidis, we would. So this is not a Kasha. This is not a Kasha in the Kal V'chomer. Good, it's true. Aidim, you would make him pay the 50, and him you won't make it the 50, but you would be mevatel the aidis. And once we do that, that's enough to go ahead and say that the Kal V'chomer is still intact. Ella, okay, so guys, you got that. That's it. Bottom line. End your Gemara, the whole first sugya. This is the Kal V'chomer that Reb Chia had, that Eidis should be Mechayiv Miyashua. From a Kal V'chomer, from Piv and Eid Echad. Okay, Piv and Eid Echad. So, Reb Chia said another din. Reb Chia said another din. What was his other din? It's a raya from our Mishnah. Let's go back. Let's go see what Reb Chia said. Let's go back to Gimel Amid Aleph. Reb Chia is the first two dots from the bottom. I say about 15 lines up. Tan Reb Chia, Manali biyadcha, v'lo yama ein lecha biyadei klum. I don't have anything in your hands. V'eidim say sheyesh lechamishim zuz. Eidim say you have 50. Nois lechamishim zuz. V'yishav al ashar, and he swears on the other 50 that he doesn't. Now, that he pays 50 is no chiddush, guys. Why? You have two eidim say, I owe you money. The chiddush is, he's swearing on the other 50. Why? If he would have admitted with his own mouth, he'd swear. It should be any stronger than what? Than now, why would I think it's stronger? Because of the svara of Rabbi, right? He wants to slip away. And when he's kaifer b'kol, obviously he's not. But it shouldn't be greater mikal v'chomer. And what's those words mikal v'chomer? Between piv and edim, right? Madach piv and edim mikoyach tainu kfira. You swear, so too over here you're going to swear, and that kal v'chomer stay straight. Vitana tuna. Now here's the next piece of Gemara. Vitana tuna and atana from our Mishnah is a raya. We're going on. Shnai marksim betalis. Zerminim etzasiya. Zerminim etzasiya. V'hahacha. Kivin the toughest. They're holding on to the talis. Anan sahade. It's like edis. The my the toughest high. Didehu. What this guy is holding on to is his. Umay the toughest high. Didehu. And what the other guy's toughest is his. So we have edim on 50. Vikatani yeshava. And nonetheless you're swearing on the other 50. So l'chayra, our Mishnah is a raya to Reb Chia, and now the Gemara is going to destroy that Tanatuna. So I couldn't destroy the Kal V'chomer, but the Tanatuna I will destroy. Back by us on Dal Ram and Aleph. Ella, the Ka'amar v'Tanatuna, me dummy, is it comparable? In other words, is it comparable? Is it comparable to your case of Moedim Mixas? You're saying, guys, it's Moedim Mixas. Eidim said I owe 50, you swear on the other half. Your hands say I owe 50, you're swearing on the other half. That is the Sushtel. Me dummy, is it comparable? Is it comparable? Hasam le'milva islay sade. There, the milva has edus. The loiva lesle sade, and the loiva doesn't. Where the edim come and say that you owe 50, obviously the milva's got edus that you owe 50. The loiva has nothing. The loimasikle midi. The havile sade the loiva. If the loiva did have edus, the loimasikle midi that didn't borrow anything from him. Reb Chia would not require him to swear if the loiva had edus that he didn't borrow. Hacha ki hecha danan sahade dahai. Anan sahadi bahai. Here, the only reason you're swearing in the case of Moed Mitzvahs is because the loiv has no edim. If the loiv had edim, you wouldn't swear. Our Mishnah, they both have edim. This guy was holding on has edim, his hand. This guy who's holding on has edim, his hand, and you're still swearing. You have to welcome Kenny in from the Holy Land. Welcome, Kenny, from the Holy Land. Kenny, have you started Bab Metzia? I can't hear you.
I was on Friday for the first Daf.
Okay, so this is going to be a little difficult. Okay, it's going to be a little difficult. We're on Dalid Amid Aleph. We're on Dalid Amid Aleph, and we're going to start a shtickle new thing. So listen well. Okay, so we have a problem with this Tanatuna. His Kal V'chomer we had, but his Zushtel to the case of Moed Mitzvahs is not a good Zushtel, because the case of Moed Mitzvahs there's Eidus on the 50 and not Eidus on the Kfira, and by our Mishnah there's Eidus on both. When the person's holding it, whatever he's holding is Eidus. It's a very good question. Okay. So Kenny, we're on Dalin Amid Aleph about you see the Tosfos Rav Sheshes go up about 6 lines above that. So now Rav Chia is going to say an other din, and we're going to, from this other din, we're going to say it's a correlation to our Mishnah. Okay, if he's going to say another din, I'm going to say from that din it's a correlation to our Mishnah. Now, what's the din he's going to say? Itmar, the Amar Rav Chia, Mana li biyadcha, $100 of mine is in your hands. Behala Amar, and the other person says, Ein lecha biyadai ela nun zuz. So he's moed b'miktsas vehelech, and it is yours wherever it is. Rashi says 4 lines down where it gets wide. Vehelech loy hoitziasam. I never took them out. Vehein shelcha b'chol makom shehein, and they're yours wherever there is. In other words, he's saying here the money is right now. Here it is. So, do we view this as a moed b'miktsas? Or since the money is here right now to disclaim that $50, we view it as koifer b'kol. Again, this is the introductory part to Halach. It's a difficult sugya. What Halach seems to be is there's no needin on the 50 that you stated. Usual moed mix is the following: you claim 100, I answer what? 50, and I don't pay you anything, so I'm going to give you the 50. And I'll swear I don't. What happens if you claim the 50 and he says you have the 50? That you're claiming from me, you have. If that's the case, then what are you left with? The other 50. And another 50 is kaifa b'kol. So the question is, do you swear on that or not? That's the svar of Halach. There's an interesting machloikas rishonim over here. If the svara is that it's yours wherever it is, would it apply by a milva al peh as well? So here's the easy part. Dov, I gave you my iPhone. Where's my iPhone? Right? I say, 1 second. iPhone. You gave me an iPhone, and you gave me an iPhone and what? And AirPods. What? You gave me an iPhone and AirPods. You never gave me an iPhone. And the AirPods are exactly where you entrusted me to watch them. They're still there. They're still there. The iPhone I disagree on, but the AirPods, they're here. They're here. Okay, what are you going to tie now? I'm moed b'miktsas because I agreed on the AirPods. The AirPods, he wants me to watch the AirPods. They're in the same drawer that he put it in. So there's a svar to say, okay, I wasn't moed on anything. I was kaifer on the iPhone, and the AirPods that I'm moed on, they're here. So therefore, take that off the table because they're here already. So that's a svara to say when we know where the AirPods are. They're there. They never left. They're still in his rishus. A milva bishtar. Milva bishtar creates a lien on a property. The property is there. So halach works. Does halach work on a milva al peh, where milva lehaitza nitna, where the milva, the money, is supposed to be taken out? So, for example, you took in the same case with Dov. Dov, Rabbi, where's my $100? I said, Dov, there's 50, and the $50 is in the drawer that you left it there in. It's still there. I never used it. Rashi seems to say that as long as I didn't take it out the 50 out of that drawer, it's halach. But again, the overall idea of halach is, do we view what he admits to as if it's paid up and therefore it blives the kofer b'kol, or do we view it as a maidim b'miktsas? That's a machlokes timeline. That's a machlokes between Amoraim, between Rav Chia and Rav Sheshes. That's the machlokes of halach. Yes, Rabbi Avi.
Once we come on to Reb Chia, who's not where Hakasha Hazama doesn't bother him, why can't we go back to Eid Echad?
What do you mean Hakasha Hazama doesn't bother him?
We said Halokasha Reb Chia Taras Hazama lo parach.
Yeah. So that what that means is it's not that. But that means is that's not a pircha. That means it's not a pircha whatsoever. Since it's not a pircha, we have an intact kal v'chaymer. But that was a pircha to destroy the kal v'chaymer. In other words, Eidim which are in the ballpark of a chashav azama, and this is not. So how could you learn? How could you say Eidus doesn't fit into your tzara shava? What's the answer? We don't consider that a kasha. So if there's no kasha on my tzara shava, I, for all intents and purposes, learned out a viable kal v'chaymer.
Why do you need the tzara shava anymore? Go back
Kal
to
shava is the kal v'chaymer. Because you're not by piv.
Yeah.
No, again, you're asking a kasha on the previous thing. Okay, let's stop that right now. Okay, let's go on. Okay, I'll get back to you, but not right now. Okay, so now halach, right? Okay, so let's see. So Tanatuna, Shnai Marks and Batalis. Okay, Nunzuz v'helach. My time, helach nami kamoy the mixes a tiny dummy. El kiyat mar v'tanatuna idach. Rechia imay dama rechia. Man li biyadcha v'lo yoma in lecha biyadei el nunzuz v'helach chayev. My timer, helach nami kamoy the mixes a tiny dummy. It's like why do mixes, and we don't say it's like kaifa b'kol. V'tanatuna Shnai Marks and Batalis. Two people are holding onto the talis. So therefore, v'hacha keeping the toughest anan sahadei the mighty toughest helachu uketani yeshava. This guy's holding on to this. This guy's holding on to this. You're claiming the whole thing. I'm claiming the whole thing. And in front of us, what we have in front of us that this part is 50 and yours is 50. So we're not dunning on that. And nonetheless, you're swearing. So you see that halach you'd swear. Sheshusam halach pata. Halach is pata. It's like a kaifa b'kol. My timer. Keeping the amalei halach. Since you said what halach, since you said halach, hani zuzi de kamoide b'gavayu kiman de nakalu milvadami. This zuz that you moide to, it's like it's there, like the milva has it already. Be'ina chamishim halay moida, and the other 50 you're not moide to, so it blives your kaifa b'kol. It blives your kaifa b'kol. Hilkach leka haydab and mixes a taina. You don't have a mixes a taina. Guys, those are two svaras. Okay, halach the svara is that. Do we view it once you admit to 50, despite the fact that you say it's paid up, it's might have mixed us and you swear? Or no, do you say since it's paid up, it's like you kaif b'kol and you're not going to be swearing? Well, Rav Sheshes kasha masnisan. Well, Rav Sheshes that you learned that case. Our Mishnah is a case of halach. Now the havamina guys was our Mishnah is the shvu is a shvu might have mixes. You're claiming the whole thing is mine. You're claiming the whole thing is mine. I say 50 is mine. My other hand says 50 is mine, and it's right here in front of us, right? Kasha, and you're still swearing. The shul might have mixes kasha and Rav Sheshes, because it's clearly a case of halach. Because it's right here in front of you. Says the Gemara, Rav Sheshes kasha masnisan. I'm like Rav Sheshes masnisan tat kanas chachamim. He our Mishnah is at takanas chachamim. The idach in takanas chachamim. He umi I'm b'shleimim v'deraisa halach chayev. right? It's a takonas lacham. That's the takonas lachamim. Shlei kol echad echad hoylech b'toich talisa shel chaveiro. You see a guy walking around, you're going to go ahead and grab. You see a guy pay for something, you'll pay for it also. And in other words, you'll go ahead and be moira heta to go ahead and do it. So we'll throw a shvua derabbanan upon you to go ahead and make sure you are as a deterrent. That's our Mishnah. Our Mishnah not speaking about shvua deraisa, says Rosh Hashanah. It's not speaking about shvua moida mikzas. It's speaking about shvua derabbanan. Takonas lachamim. Right. And Rav Shei, so Metzia, Ve'idach, and Rav Chia in takonas lachamim. He miyu. I'm a b'shleim with the raisa heilach chayiv mitakni rabbanan shvua came the raisa. Elim with the raisa heilach pata mitakni rabbanan shvua the lesser kabasi with the raisa. Okay, so another Rav Sheshes wants to extrapolate that it's true. It's not mamish to moida and mixas, but they wouldn't have come up with the shvua unless they had a source that was similar to moida and mixas. Okay, so now we have set. Rav Sheshes says heilach is pata. Rav Chia says heilach is chayiv. Rav Chia views heilach as moida and mixas. Rav Sheshes views heilach mat as koifa b'kol. So now we're going to go ahead and dan. Metzia, we're going to ask kashas. Now we're leaving Rav Chia, guys. We're leaving Rav Chia and we're going to the sugya of heilach. Sloyim. You have a star that says sloyim. Dinorim. You have a star that says you owe me dinorim. How much is it, guys? But if you had a regular star that says sloyim or dinorim, how much you say it is? Thank you, Kenny. 2. It's 2. If you have no numbers, I would say 2. Sloyim, sellers, right? Samech, Lamed, Ayin, S, right? Dinarims, D-I-N-A-R-S, dinars, I would say 2. These are plural. Milva oy mechamesh. Now the lender, he says, you know how much? There's 5 dinarim. The loiva amar, shalish, there's 3 dinarim. Now, is this Maida mixes? Rav Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Hoyel v'hoida mixes atayna Yeshava. He was Maida. He was Maida to what? He was Maida to 5. He was Maida to 3. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Eina ela k'meshav aveda upata. He's meshav aveda in his pata. Because why? Because the star says 2. The star says 2. By him saying 1 more, he's truthfully saying, I only owe 3. He's restoring something that what? They didn't have to. And Memela, what? And Memela, he's pata. When you said 3, you seem to be a very truthful guy, because if you really wanted to save some money, you would have said, I owe you 2, and the star would have backed you up. The fact that the star did not have any denomination in front of it is screaming at it's only 2. No fool is going to go ahead what, and have a star without the number in front of it, right? Put a bunch of zeros, right? What does that mean? Obviously, you want to spell it out. By this person saying 3, what's he doing? He's for all intents and purposes saying that what? That I only owe you 3. And therefore, you're not going to swear. It's Kameshav Aveda. It's like returning 1, because 2 you bivla. Now, how does this impact into Halach? Kitani Mias, nonetheless, you learned. Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, Hoyel v'hoida mikzas hatayna, since you moided mikzas hatayna, yishava, taima dama shalosh. The reason why you're moided, because you said 3. Hashtayim, but if you said shtayim, you'd be potter. Shtayim, you'd be potter. The high star, the kamoide bay, helechu. This star for 2 guys, it's halech. It's in front of you. Here it is, right? It's right here in front of you. And you potter. So you see, halech is potter, kasha on Rav Chia. Here you have 2. The reason Rav Shimon Elazar says Yechayev Moedah Mikzas is because you were moedah to 1. Let's say you didn't say 3. Let's say you said 2. Let's say you said 2. So the 2, here it is. It's in the star right in front of you, and you're potter for making a shvua. So you have a raya that halech. Here it is. I'm potter for making a shvua. The high star moedah v'helechu shmamina halech potter kasha on Rav Chia. Beautiful kasha. Loy lo'olam melach shtayim chayev. Shtayim is chayev. So why you chayev? Because halech is chayev. The haidik tani shalosh. Why did you learn 3? Lafuki mid Rabbi Akiva, to say that Rabbi Shimon Elazar disagrees with Rabbi Akiva. Dama meishva veidahu pata kemash malon de moedah b'knas atayna havi v'chayev. In other words, your diak is not a great diak. What's your diak? Yediak is Reb Shimon Elazar said you only chayiv moed b'miktzas by 2, mashma by 3. Mashma, if you would have said 2, you would be potter. No, the reason you said 2 is to tell me the chiddush of Rabbi Akiva. Even though there's a svara to say 3 is Meshav Aveda, I still hold it's moed b'miktzas. But also 2, you'll be moed b'miktzas, you'll be chayiv, because Halach is chayiv. If you're telling me 2 is chayiv and 3 is chayiv, 2 and 3 are chayiv, Reb Shimon Elazar oimer hoyel v'hoida b'miktzas hataina yishava af se yishava midboyle. In language, if you look at the language, what is it saying? This guy says 5. This guy says 3. Look at the second line from the top. Hoyel v'hoida mixas hataina. Since he's moida to 3, he's chayiv. You just told me that even by 2 he would be moida b'miktzas, correct? So it shouldn't say since he's moida b'miktzas. Say 3, after 3 he's moida b'miktzas. Not only is he moida b'miktzas by 2, he's even moida by 3, where there's a svara to say v'heshev es aveda. We don't say it. The lashon of Reb Shimon Elazar is screaming out, you're only chayiv moed b'miktzas by 3. Because by 2, you're not. Because if you were chayiv by 2, here's what Reb Shimon Elazar should have said. When you said 3, af yeshava, even 3 you're going to swear. Not only 2 are you going to swear, but even 3 you're going to swear, even though by 3 there's a svara to say you're being Meshav Aveda because you didn't have to say 3. When it doesn't say that, it's mashma, you're only chayiv for 3 and not 2. Back to the original question on Reb Chia, that Halach is pata. Says the Gemara, Ihachi, Reb Shimon Elazar oimer hoyel v'hoid mixas hataina yishava, af se yishava miboyed lei. It should say even there miboyed. Ela la'olam, I'll tell you what, Shtayim is pata. La'olam, I'm going to tell you 2 is pata also. And why? Because Halach is pata. V'Halach chayiv. How's that possible? Isn't Shtayim Halach? No. B'shani hacha, the kamasayim leishtara. It's different over here because we have a shtar that is going ahead and is supporting him. Rashi says the edim hachasum al shtar may edim kidvarav. They're testifying like his words. Shleihoya el shtayim, that there were only 2. Ulakach le pirshu minyan, and therefore we didn't explain the number. Hilkach in tzarich shua. Fellas, there's 2 reasons that possibility that this person, that 2 is pater. Either Halach is pater, really it's moed b'miktzas, and Halach it is, and therefore Halach makes it not a moed b'miktzas, or it's moed b'miktzas, and it's still not Halach. Why? I have a shtar. Shtar says, I owe you dinarim. You say I owe you 5. I say I owe you 2. I'm pater from swearing. Why am I pater from swearing? Not because Halach is pater and I'm like paying you with the shtar. I'm pater because the shtar is telling that Stern is telling the truth. This shtar has 2 edim signed on the bottom that says Stern owes Dove 2 dinarim. You know why? Because it just said dinarim. Had it said, if I Stern owed 3, it would say 3 dinarim. It would say 4 dinarim. The fact that it says dinarim is like it says screaming out 2, because dinarim means 2. So even though Halach, every other place would be chayiv, this is not Halach. The reason you pater here is not because like I'm paying you the 2. The reason I'm pater you is the shtar is being messiah that what? That I only owe you 2. That's the difference. So Rabbi Chia says Halach is chayiv, and this is the B'turah over here is not machmas Halach. The B'turah over here is machmas the shtar being testifying on my behalf, and therefore I don't know it. That's what it means. Shani hacha de komisai leishtara. Inami mishum the havi leishtar shibud karkois. The shtar is milvim b'shtar, guys. What is supporting my loan? Karka. If I'm not going to pay you up, I'm going to have to pay you karka. What do we know about karka? Ein nishboyin ala karkois. Ein nishboyin ala karkois. So therefore, you're pater from a shvua because of ein nishboyin al shibud karkois, but not because of halach. Ein nishboyin al kfir shibud karkois. Okay, that's one way to learn the sugya. Iked Ma'asid me Seifa. Those who ask from the Seifa. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Eina Ela Kameshav Aveda. If you go ahead, he claims 5, you say 3. You don't have to swear because you're being Meshav and Aveda because you could have got off with 2. Pata time Adama Shalish. The reason why you don't swear is because you said 3. Hashtayim, if you would have said I owe you 2, then Chayev. Why would you be Chayev? Because Halach is Chayev. But Hashtar, the Kamoy de Beke Halach Dami, here it is, and Shmamino Halach Chayev. So the guy claims 5, you say 3, you're off the hook, Meshav Aveda. What happens if you would have said 2? You'd be on the hook. You might be mixas. Why am I might be mixas? The star is here is like Halach, right? Here it is. Here's the payment. The answer is that Halach is Chayev. So now it's a kasha on Rav Sheshes. Shtayim nami pata. Shtayim is also pata. The Haidik Tani Shalosh, and why we learn 3 for the Chiddush. Lafuki der Shemin Alaza. The Amma Moedim mixes a Taina Have, V'chayev, Kamash Mlo, the Meshav Avedu pata. This is the inverse of the previous Gemara. The reason why we're learning and saying that we learn 2 versus 3, while we learn 3 versus 2, is to teach me the Chiddush. What's the Chiddush? That even though that 3, you might say is Moedim mixes, Kamash Mlo, and it's Meshav Aveda. Hachanami Mistabra. These Salkadak Shtayim Chayev. If you're going to say 2 is Chayev, the Sholish Hechi Patale Rabbi Akiva, right? How could Rabbi Akiva go ahead and pat you with 3? Ha'arumi Kama'arim Savar Iamina Shtayim Be'ina Shtabuye Ema Sholish Havi Kameshav Aveda of Iftar Elishmamino Shtayim Nami Pater. Guys, listen, very very good svar, guys. What are you saying now? Fear rice. Rabbi Akiva says 3 Yemeshav Aveda. Mashma 2, you will be chayav to swear. Moedim mixes. Good. Mashma 2, you be chayav to swear moedim mixes. So why do you have a raya? If I'm swearing moedim mixes, despite the fact that what? That it's halach, that the star is right here, it's a raya that halach is chayav. Says the Gemara, no. Really, 2 you'd also be pata. 2 you'd be pata and also. Why? Because halach is pata. Halach is pata. You need pata. I said, why do you say 3? I said 3 to tell me that by 3 you don't say Moedim Mixas. That 3 is still Meshav Aveda. Still is Meshav Aveda. So Halach is pata. And therefore 2 you pata. Why am I pata on 3? Because I'm being Meshav Aveda. And the Svara lends itself to that. That 2 must be pata. Because let's say 2 is Chayev Moedim Mixas. So the guy's a lamdan, right? So watch. If I say 2, he claims 5, I say 2. Automatically, what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to swear. But I got a better idea. I'm going to say 3. What happens if I say 3? Oh, you're at Tzaddik. You're at Tzaddik. The star was screaming out 2 and you're offering 3. Right? So to avoid making a shvua, I'll say 3 instead of 2. Ella must be 2 also Yapatim. That's what that's the upschlag on the kasha that you wanted to give. So now, if that's the case, that halach is 2 is pater, it must be halach is pater is the kasha on Reb Chia. Let's finish the Gemara. Ella says the Gemara the kasha leil Reb Chia, who said halach is chayev. Here we see halach is pater. 1 shtayim is pater, halach is pater. Shiny hasam, it's different over there. Kamasayim leishtara. That's what he said above. Even though halach is chayev, over there, since you have Adam signed on the star that says 2, and he only said Salaim or Dinarim, which is Mashma 2, therefore you pata. Inami Mishum the Havilei Star Shibit Karkois. The reason you pata is because there's no Shua. Vein Ishboin al Kfias Shibit Karkois. Okay? So, Yoitza Midvarenu. Today, we have Reb Chia. Reb Chia's first in about that the Adam Chayev Moedim Mixas from a Kal V'chomer. We had a good Kal V'chomer. The Kal V'chomer was from Piv and from Eid Echad. There's good Kal V'chomer from Piv and Eid Echad. It was good, and therefore we have that madach. You can be chayiv through your own mouth. You can be chayiv through Eidus as well. From Mitzad from Piv and Eid, that worked. However, you wanted to say it's right from a Mishnah, did not work because our Mishnah is different. Because the case over there you have Eidus for the milva, you don't have Eidus for the loiva. In our case, our Mishnah, you have Eidus for both. So therefore, your Tana Tuna doesn't work. Oh, but you want a Tanatuna from a Mishnah, it's to the Sugya of Halach. Now, what's the Tanatuna Sugya of Halach? Halach is the idea that you're claiming, I say nothing, I owe you nothing, you claim 50. I say the 50 is, I only owe you 50. You're claiming 100, I owe you 50. Here's the 50 right now, here it is, or it's in your Rishus already. Again, the lumdus over there, maybe we'll see a little better tomorrow. It's there where it is, and therefore you chayiv a moed mixas from our Mishnah. Of course, you have halach over here. What's the halach? Each one has in front of him the 50. This guy has the 50. It's in front of him. They're holding on to it, right? And therefore, it's like halach. Here's your part. Here's your part. And nonetheless, you're swearing a shvur moed mixas. So who did Rav Chia's has a Tanatuna from our Mishnah, says Rav Sheshes halach is potter. Our Mishnah is not comparable, right? Because our Mishnah, right? By our Mishnah, each person has an aid, and over there only have one person has an aid, and therefore our Mishnah is only to kind of the Rabbanon. Rav Chia is Moida, that's the kind of the Rabbanon, but it must be Kain Daraisa. And now we just segued into the sugya of Halach itself. Rav Chia and Rav Sheshes, we asked from the sugya of Sloim Dinrin, according whether Sloim would be is Mashma 2, Mashma 3, and we're leaving off that each one has self-served. Okay, and your question of Avi, I think it's only by Hazam and not Hakosha. Hakosha still be a problem, so therefore you can't. That'd be a problem.
Please, please. How come me when he tying his 5, you owe me 5, and I say and I give him 3? How come Migu doesn't enter into this picture at all? I could have said 2.
Why by any Maidan mixes you can't say that? And any Maidan mixes, believe me,
I'm saying more. I'm saying more than I had to. I could have said 2. You know, when it's a Maidan mixer. I mean, I'm saying more than the Maidan mixes.
That seems to be the svar of Rabbi Akiva, Yemeshiv Aveda, right?
Okay.
Okay, let's say a kapitel to Hillam.